title of this presentation is Getting Started and Beyond. The event format tonight is we're going to first of all talk about how we will get started and go beyond with some introductory comments. We will also address some brief answers for some questions that were submitted in advance. Then the meat of this program will be the interactive targeted questions, which will be evident as we go along here. We're going to be doing this with breakout rooms and main room collaboration. At the end, there will be an open question and answer period. Who is this webinar for? Let's make that clear. It's going to be for club leaders and members that are new to mentoring, as well as experienced mentors. And then finally, members that are interested in the Toastmasters Pathways Mentor Program. Regarding getting started, it is my promise to you that there is going to be something revealed, as it never has been before, about the Toastmasters Pathways Mentor Program, hoping to spark your interest a little bit there, with a brand new learning resource. And then the beyond getting started, quite honestly, I'm going to be leaning on many of you here, because I know I'm not the only one with ideas about mentoring, and I want to draw from you, and together we're going to come up with that sense of beyond getting started. Again, this will be taking place throughout the interactive breakout rooms. The first thing that I want to do is look at those questions that came in advance. And again, I do like to honor that advanced preparation. It's the teacher in me. I love it when people prepare ahead of time. And there were actually several that came in. The first one is, why is there not some additional Toastmasters International motivation or recognition to get people to undertake the mini mentor path? In other words, the Pathways Mentor Program. Perhaps Toastmasters International should make it one of the prerequisites for becoming a DTM. Is the questioner with us at this time? And I wonder if you would like to have some dialogue, or shall I answer that more generally? And Lori, is anyone responding?
Not yet, Mr. Presenter.
Okay, very good. Well, I will just address that. Again, these are brief questions, or brief answers to these questions, but we can always cover it later. My thinking on this is, I love the spirit of exactly what you're saying. In other words, we need to get this out there. More people need to know about this, and that's what really we're trying to do today in this webinar tonight. Should it be part of the prerequisites for becoming a DTM? I don't think it would be totally off the mark to say something like that, considering the requirements from the previous curriculum did involve doing some mentoring. However, I think the opportunity, if we were to do that with Toastmasters International, would be to really make clear what the program is, how to get started. I don't know if we're there yet, but this webinar is a huge effort in that regard. So I love the spirit of your question. I think we could talk more about it. The next question, please share how to be a better mentor and provide some pitfalls to avoid. The same questioner asked both of those. I just will simply say both of those were such great questions. They're actually in the planned discussion. I need to be able to put projects in my correct path. I originally chose persuasive influence, but some of my speeches have gone to dynamic leadership. So this is clearly a pathways question, and I just want to evince precisely what we're talking about here in terms of helping with one-on-one. So I had a chance to talk with someone that's going to be helping with this. I contacted the questioner, and what we're going to do is help them in a separate session to get started with their situation. I already know the answer to this, but not only do I want to provide the technical solution, but I want to make sure that they understand it and we respect their context. They happen to be here tonight, so I'm looking forward to getting together with you. But I just wanted to say that one-on-one help is absolutely key to mentoring, and that's something that I'm going to try and do, leading by example or sharing with you, I guess, in this way. Next question: how do you start? And I understood the question to say a mentoring program using the Pathways Mentor Program curriculum if a club is new. This will also be included in the agenda discussion. And if you don't think it was, please bring it up again. How do you keep the Pathways Mentor Program relevant? If it doesn't seem like this was answered, I'm also going to put this to you as well if you're here. Please bring this up again in the Q&A if it has not come up in the discussions. I planted some seeds, and I'm hoping that those seeds will be fertilized, have sunlight, and then grow throughout the question period. But if it hasn't come up sort of naturally, let's bring it up explicitly. How do you get started? That is definitely included in the agenda discussion. And then finally, the benefits and how to start, how to get to know people. That certainly will be included in terms of benefits and how to get started. How to get to know people, again, I'm hoping that this will sort of come up naturally in the discussion, but if it doesn't, please do bring it up. I really want this to be a collaborative event where we get a chance to take what each of us knows individually and then collectively come together and, who knows, come up with things that we might not even thought of previously and come up with even better solutions. That's my thinking on that. Any follow-up comments to those excellent questions? I'm not seeing any, so we're going to dive back into the regular part of the program. Okay. Just to explain how the breakout rooms will work, we're going to get 3.5 minutes for each question. And I'm going to ask, because we're going to have, a few questions and you're going to be with the same folks in your breakout room, I would encourage you to choose a different representative for each question. When we come back, we will not have time to get to every breakout room and every commentary, but we're going to choose on 1 or 2 per question. And let's just say if we have, 1, 2, and 3, persons 1, 2, and 3, maybe the first time have person 1 be the representative to talk about what you discussed, then person 2, person 3, accordingly would be my encouragement. And then, of course, we'll come back to that main room to collaborate together. Here we go with the first question. What are the benefits in a mentoring relationship, either for a protege? Now, if you're not sure what that word protege means, it's also like a mentee, right? The mentor would be the one offering the guidance. The mentee or protege would be the one receiving the guidance, just to offer a simple explanation for that. So what are the benefits in a mentoring relationship for protege or for a mentor? I'd like to answer both of those depending on your group. We're going to have 3.5 minutes. You'll be brought back automatically. There's nothing you need to do technically except go, enjoy, and learn from each other. We're going to go right now. Here we go. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Excellent. Just to review the questions we talked about, what are the benefits in a mentoring relationship, either for a protege or for a mentor? Who would like to volunteer? Lori, could you pick someone that raises their hand, please?
Brent has his hand raised, Dave.
Oh, wonderful. Brent, what would you like to share that you and your group talked about?
I'm so happy that I got voluntold to be our representative. Tonight. I don't know what's coming up, but I assume this is fairly simple question. So the protege,
Yes.
The mentee benefits of having a mentor are having questions put to us from our mentor that help us to think about how we can solve our own problems, help guide us towards resources that help us in solving our own problems. And for a mentor, there's the benefits of realizing that you don't know everything. When your protege asks you a question that I don't know, let me find out. I think sometimes we don't know all the questions to ask, and having somebody ask us the question. Jim also pointed out that we don't always know when we're a mentor. Sometimes we're just answering someone's questions in a meeting, or someone who reaches out to us, and we are in fact a mentor in that situation. And Joan pointed out that both of these also help in building and growing our self-esteem as we're able to help other people or be helped. Our confidence grows.
Wow. Well, that's the end of the webinar. I think you just said everything, Brent. Wow, you have a superstar group. That is absolutely fabulous. I'm hearing about the mentor giving the ability to offer a self-sufficiency, if you will, to the protege, let them learn to think for themselves, solve problems, give them resources. And the benefit of the mentor is, in fact, that you learn through explaining and teaching, and then this sort of emotional resilience and a building of self-esteem. Thank you. Big hand for Brent. Wow. Lori, we have time for one more if someone would like to jump in.
David Shehorn has his hand raised.
Oh my goodness, David, tell us what you got.
Well, I think one of the things that proteges learn is how to define what their goals are. A lot of times they're just ill-defined about what they're trying to achieve. And so helping a mentor, helping a mentee define what their goals are so we know how to help them achieve it. And for a mentor, part of it is just learning to listen. Don't give a solution until you know what the problem is. So that was kind of what we drifted around about.
Well, those are excellent things to drift about. Thank you very much, David. Again, I am so glad that we're offering this. I am learning every second, and I hope you all are as well. I just want to offer a little bit of further commentary and maybe support some of what was already said regarding specifically how the Toastmasters Pathways Mentor program could help. The one-on-one relationship that we talked about in the beginning, and I think you were also alluding to, both of you, which is this one-on-one relationship is absolutely ideal for meeting individualized needs of that protege. And then finally, for the mentor, developing communication skills is something that can really take place. And I think that was also alluded to. Further benefits of the Toastmasters Pathways Mentor program: goal clarification. David, I was typing very quickly as you said that, of course, right? It's we're on the same page with that. As well, planning and able to move ahead with those goals and get that feedback back and forth. And finally, it's a safe place to fail, safe place to experiment, try new things. Brent alluded to that with the self-esteem. You build self-esteem through getting into that growth zone, trying new things, but being in a supportive environment. All right, we're going to dive into the second question. Here he goes. How can you start a mentoring program for a new club without experienced members, or for your existing club? So I wanted to include both of those in the same bucket. So how could you start a mentoring program for a new club or for an existing club? Same thing, we're going to do breakout rooms for 3.5 minutes. You'll be brought back automatically. Let's head out right now. The question we've been exploring is, how can you start a mentoring program for a new club without experienced members or for an existing club? Let's hear from you. Lori, who would like to jump in first?
PJ Kleffner has his hand raised.
Wonderful. PJ, what would you like to share with us?
Hey, a couple things occurred to us. first with an existing club, it's fairly straightforward. You have more experienced members who can help the new members. For a new club, my comment was not all Toastmasters are created equal. Even with a group of 20 new people, some of those people are bound to have some experience in management and leadership roles in other areas of their life. So they should be able to take on mentoring roles in the new club. Plus, it was also mentioned that each new club is assigned mentors to help them get started. Now that's more in the context of having their club meetings and the whole program, not so much having individual mentor pairs of the members, but still those mentors are a critical piece of a new club's success. And a final comment we had was that the members need to communicate with each other. They need to communicate what their needs are.
Communicate the needs. Thank you very much, PJ. That is absolutely correct. If I were to reflect what I heard, an experienced club, an existing club, I should say, I think you're right. It's straight ahead. You have more experienced members and they can share what they know. And I hadn't thought about that perspective of new clubs where you have different skill sets that you can utilize. And then, of course, in the Toastmasters program, we do assign club mentors to new clubs. That is great commentary. And I can't agree more wholeheartedly regarding let's communicate those needs as they come up. Thank you. And Lori, who's next? You have time for one more.
Yeah, Vivian has had her hand raised.
Oh, great. Vivian, would you like to share with us?
Yes. Quickly, Dave, I would like to share that people think they're communicating. They believe they're communicating. But in all the trainings I give, there's three kinds of people. They're the visual communicators, the auditory, and the kinesthetic. Now, if you're not both visual and one is auditory, this has happened. You send an email and the other guy goes, "How dare you? You could have just talked to me." And then when I talk to somebody the next day, another person, the person says, "You're so confrontational. This is shameful. Why didn't you email me?" So we are all nice and kind people, but we fall on our faces. Help!
You know, Vivian, I couldn't agree more, and I'm laughing because I've experienced all of the above. And, you know, I think you're right. We cannot have a conversation about mentoring without those three different types of learners, the visual, the auditory, as well as the kinesthetic, those that need to, feel it, touch it, try it out. Thank you for that. Excellent. I'm sure there is lots more commentary, but we do need to move on to stay in structure today. And of course, there is room in the Q&A toward the end here. Just wanted to add further. I just want to say, in case anyone's interested, particularly in starting the Pathways Mentor program in your club, I've had that question too. And my answer is that it literally starts with one mentor, and now you've got the program happening, or maybe you've got someone that wants to be a protege. We have some advice on that regarding how to sign up for the Pathways Mentor program. As a protege, you would typically just let your vice president education know that you are interested. If your club or VPE is unfamiliar with the program yet, or does not have active Pathways Mentor program mentors, you or the VPE can contact your area director or another district officer. As a mentor, it's available to all members when you complete levels 1 and 2. From your Basecamp home screen, and I'm going to show you this in a second, or show you a resource that tells you about this for your follow-up. It's under suggested learning. You might have heard this before. And you simply click on something called Pathways Mentor Program to get started. Then we're going to show you, or this resource is going to show you where you find the Pathways Mentor Program after that. So I have been dying to show you this, and I cannot wait any longer. I simply cannot wait any longer. If you have not been to the Pathways Learning Center yet, the District 7 Pathways Learning Center page, Now, if you've received communication from me, it's in my signature, every single email. But if you happen to know where our district page is, it's just d7toastmasters.org. Then you go to Pathways Learning Center right under that Pathways tab. This has its own page that it will be loading. If you haven't seen this before, I really hope that you find it to be a valuable resource, either for yourself or helping others. The way that the page is structured is it's set up for beginning level, and then as you go down the page, more intermediate, and then intermediate/advanced. Now I am going to go a little fast here because what I want to show you is in the intermediate section. It's just beyond the resources, and I'm going to send you in the follow-up a direct link to be able to get right there. I've got a bookmark link which I'm going to send you. And there is now a brand new Toastmasters Pathways Mentor Program section. This was my attempt to offer comprehensive information, and I'm going to just show you generally what it is in our brief time we have today. So this is a video. The longest video in here, I think, is about 8.5 minutes. They're anywhere between 5 and 8.5 minutes approximately. This video is just getting started in the Pathways Mentor Program. And that explains how to get started either as a mentor, protege. Then this talks about all the projects involved in the program. So it's one thing that I found wanting to learn about this is it's almost kind of a best kept secret. You have to look at all these different websites and do Google searches. It drove me absolutely crazy. But my attempt here is that it's all at this is a one-stop education resource for the Pathways Mentor Program. And then if you would just prefer to see the listing of curriculum items, there it is right there. You would just click on that. And then we go through every single item in there. The first project that you'll actually be doing, as they call it, a project. It's just called Prepare to Mentor. And again, if you like to see that description, it's right there. Same thing with the next one. Then there's your project description. Then the final advanced mentoring and the project description. And then this is kind of not clear to some people. So I even made a video on how to actually complete the Pathways Mentor Program. And there's another term called Pathways Mentor Designation, which is different than completing the program itself. That is the fire hose that I'm offering you. Any questions on the fire hose that I just sprayed towards you? And I'm inviting you to take a look for yourself. We just don't have time to go into it right now. Any questions on the fire hose?
I think those are great resources, Dave. Thank you.
Oh, God, thank you, Brent. It has been literally, I've been up till past sunrise, night after night after night, preparing for this. When I agreed to do this Pathways Mentor Program presentation, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be daunting to do it well. And I just decided, you know what, our members are worth it. And it was really fun too. So that's great. And it looks, Lori, do we have a hand up?
Yes, we have. Joan was just before Vivian. So.
Oh, great. Joan?
Mine's real quick. Yeah, Dave, did you say you would be sending us that link, that direct link into the Pathways? Okay,
I will.
I just make sure my ears heard what I thought they heard.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Excellent. And we probably have time for one more question.
Vivian.
Oh, great, Vivian.
Yes, directly. I found the Pathways Mentor Program. I went through it. It's wonderful. And now I'm seeing there's completion and designation. You will hear me say my famous word, help. Where do I find it? Help.
Oh my God, Vivian, I could so relate to what you're saying. Please do follow up with me. At the end of every one of these, I always send a follow-up to all the participants. The only reason you would not receive it is because for some reason, email will not let me do it. I have one participant that showed up like 3 sessions ago, and every time I've tried from alternate emails, everything, I just can't get through to this person. So I hope that they're just going to go to the D7 calendar and come back one of these days. But anyway, if you should get an email from me in the next, say, 48 hours. Excellent. Very, very good. All right, we are cooking along here. Third question. What makes a good mentor, and what are pitfalls to avoid as a new mentor? I'm hoping we can draw from some of your experience. This has to do with going beyond the basics, shall we say, and drawing from your experience, our combined experience. Breakout room, 3.5 minutes, brought back automatically. We're going to head over right now and learn together. See you in a moment. The question we talked about is what makes a good mentor, and what are pitfalls to avoid as a new mentor? We have time for at least one, because I also want to get to the open Q&A. Who would like to jump in to help us with this question? Lori.
Stephanie raised her hand first, and then Jim.
Okay,
Jim
we got to do
Robinson.
both. Okay, let's go for Stephanie to start. Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this. This is a great question, Dave, by the way.
Thank you.
We were talking about this and Vivian mentioned she had a very interesting situation. And one of the things that could be a pitfall for mentors, because they are more experienced, is having the belief that they know it all.
Yes, yes.
And then not listening to the protege.
Yes.
In some cases, it is important to give the protege enough freedom to go and learn and then come back, because that it will be a way of really cementing that new knowledge and have the mentor be that sounding board. That will be a good way of handling that, to avoid the pitfall of thinking a mentor is the one that has the answers for everything.
Now, if I understand what you're saying, the pitfall for the mentor, of course, is being a know-it-all. Like, these are what you need to do. That's the end of the story, not really listening to the context. And you're sort of implying, if you're a protege in that situation, are you kind of suggesting that you might switch mentors or take a hiatus from that mentor and come back? Or is it both of those?
Well, also, what I was saying is, in case that the other way around, there is a pitfall of the protege as well, where the protege, it may be not completely open to listening.
Okay.
In that case, the mentor can be the person encouraging the protege to go and learn a specific area on their own and then come back. So the mentor can be only that sounding board, instead of being the one providing the answers, is the one that is enabling the protege to go find those answers and bring them back. So I was talking about the pitfalls on both ends.
I see.
How to handle that.
Very subtle solutions. I'm going to need to think about that a little bit. Thank you for sparking my interest on those questions and answers. Particularly, thank you, Stephanie. Big hand for Stephanie. And then, Lori, you said there was one more.
Well, Jim had his hand up and then he put it down. So I think he probably has a question. I see Ellen is clapping, but Jim Robinson had a question.
Okay, and then actually, before we do that, Jim, can we head into the open Q&A and include that as part of the open Q&A?
I was just going to say, I don't need to add anything to what Stephanie said. She said basically the same thing that we were talking about.
Oh, yes, I think she just laid it out perfectly. Thank you, Jim. And if you have further, we're going to now head into the open Q&A, which will be assisted by Lori Anderson. And I do want to come back to myself for some specific closing comments, and then we'll close it with Lori at the end. I look forward to your questions. Over to Lori. Big hand for Lori.
Well, thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. I just want to make sure that people got their chance to discuss that wanted to. Jim has his hand up. So
Great.
Let's go ahead and let Jim question or comment.
Jim, love to hear from you.
Thanks, Larry. Hi, Dave. My question is, as a mentor, how would we direct a person to a path or paths, or help them identify which one they should start with?
Choosing a path is really the question I think you're asking about. Is that right?
Correct.
I'm going to offer something and then perhaps enlist the group a little bit too. I have done a lot of thinking about this. What a lot of folks do recommend is that they take the initial survey, and I would still support that. The other thing that I would put out there is, particularly if you're helping someone that might be more familiar with the former traditional program, I think the number one choice actually is presentation mastery. And I'll tell you specifically why. Because it is the most similar to the older curriculum, and you may, let me put it this way, you're going to find it very open-ended. I think that one, if they so desired, for example, could take a speech and literally float it through the entire presentation mastery path, just about, and you could give it just building your speechcraft skills along the way. In other words, it's far from onerous. There's more open-endedness. There's less time preparation needed. So if a person is wanting to get their feet wet and not have to do a tremendous amount of preparation, that is a great method to go. The way that these paths work is they're differentiated with sort of a public speaking focus, and then 3 levels of leadership. So you have then light leadership, moderate leadership, and then stronger leadership. That is those are some things to think about. Anyone else want to jump in on that? I know Dave Shehorn often has things to say about that, or others might.
Well, the engaging humor is another one that people could handle that does not have a lot of the leadership portion. But it depends on your style. If you like telling jokes and stories, engaging humor is terrific.
Yes. I have yet to do that one. One of these days, I'll have to put my humor in a particular direction and torture my members with my humor each week. And Lori, who's the next question?
Stephanie has her hand raised.
Oh, great, Stephanie.
Yes, hi, thank you. My question is in regards to perhaps for those who are new mentors, new in the world of mentorship.
Yes.
Based on the experience of the most seasoned mentors, have you considered putting together a list of the minimum requirements that a mentor should meet in order to be qualified as a good mentor, for example?
That is an excellent question. Sort of the minimum requirements of a good mentor. I'd like to, first of all, answer this in a standardized way, if I could, just because, in fact, we are talking about the Pathways Mentor Program, and then open it up conceptually or philosophically or informally even. In terms of the Pathways Mentor Program, the minimum requirement is that a member has completed both level 1 and level 2 in any path. The reason for that, in my opinion, is that at that time, they've sort of gotten their feet wet with probably how to complete a project. They've built some speechcraft skills. They've actually done the Introduction to Toastmasters mentoring project. So that's what Toastmasters International in official capacity considers the minimum requirements. Now, to open it up further, I have lots of thoughts on that, but I would like to enlist the group. What do you think? How can we help Stephanie with her question on that to look at some sort of minimum requirements to get started helping as a mentor? Who would like to add to that? Lori, who has their hand up? It looks like we probably have one or two.
We have Vivian and then David Shehorn.
Okay, should we start with Vivian?
Please.
Great. Vivian, would you like to share some advice for us?
Yes. If someone who is mentoring has finished level 2 or 3, and for some reason the protege is doing 4 and 5, is that a bright idea? Help!
I love it. When I go to bed, I'll be thinking of like this session tonight, and I'll be going, my goodness, it's late. I don't have any sleep. Help! I'm thinking of Vivian. That's a great question. I will say that I would probably go to in a way, what PJ had shared. In other words, it's not just pathways that we are mentoring about, but in fact, let's say if I am a level 1 or a level 2, but I do have some management experience, or I have some sort of skill set that protege might be interested in learning about, then I think that could be a good match. Maybe this sort of begs the question of that conversation between the protege and the mentor to make sure it is a right match. What do you have that you can help me learn that I'm excited to learn about, is at least something that comes to mind? That's a great question. David, I think you were next. Is that right?
Yeah, I just want to say, I look at it as buddy, coach, mentor. Buddy helps you with one project, coach helps you with one level, a mentor helps you for 6 long months.
Okay. Yes, and just to be clear for the recording, David, this is not official in Toastmasters International, but this is a system that you've used, and I think Suzanne Loeb uses it as well. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, Suzanne and I are both on the same page on that.
Ah, gotcha. Yes. So just to be clear, because in fact this is a Toastmasters Pathways Mentor Program branded presentation, I just want to be clear that is a way that a person can think about it, but it's not in the curriculum. And of course, we encourage different ways of looking at that, kind of like levels of commitment. I think that's very creative. Thank you for sharing that, David. And we have time probably for one more, I think, Laurie, if anybody has the hand up.
Yes, Joan has had her hand up.
Oh, perfect. We saved the best for last, although you're all the best, but we like Joan too. So Joan, what would you like to share?
One thing I think it's really important for a mentor to have is a good relationship in the club, a good standing relationship, goes to meetings, talks to people, reaches out, and isn't just going into the mentors program to become a mentor because now I am one, the type thing. It's got to be coming from the heart and really be truthful to the club.
My goodness, engage with the heart and the mind and the commitment.
Yes.
100% agree, and that reminds me of you, period, Joan. I think you evinced that very well. Excellent. Well, I think that's a perfect comment to transition. Laurie, shall I go back to my slides? Is that okay? Great. Well, thanks. Big hand for everybody. In our commentary, just want to jump back and offer a little bit of closing commentary to you. I would like to actually offer a call to action if you are so inclined or interested. To all attendees, I'm going to ask that you go to the Pathways Mentor Program videos, and I'm going to be sending you that direct link in the follow-up email. Study those videos and refer at least one person to the resources that we just described if you know somebody that could benefit. If you are brand new to the Toastmasters Pathways Mentor Program, I'm going to ask that you get started as either a protege or mentor. And if you're not sure how to do that, email me. You'll be getting an email from me. You can respond to that. We do have upcoming Pathways Learning Labs. They are on Wednesdays. They're always from 7 to 8 p.m. Pathways Learning Labs are always Wednesday, 7 to 8 p.m. It just so happens the next two. And these are the last two of this Toastmasters year. I'm going to do my emoji for a little bit of tears there. It's been a wonderful ride this year. It continues to be so. And we have at least a couple left. So it's on May 11th and as well as June 8th. And then finally at TLI, we have Pathways sessions going on. On Friday, June 3rd is going to be one more for a Pathways at the beginning level. We have one of the presenters here, but I want to put them on the spot. I'll let them jump in if they want to say something, but I'll simply say they're going to do a great job. And then I'll be offering a presentation on the 4th, which is the Saturday. The thing that I want to say to you before I hand it off to Laurie is thank you so much for your contribution. And this quote really comes to mind for me. In learning, you will teach, and in teaching, you will learn. Of all people, Phil Collins shared this, but I could not resist offering this to you because I think that is completely appropriate for what it is that we're doing today and doing together. So thank you so much, all of you, for attending. At this time, I return control of the meeting to our presiding officer, Laurie Anderson.
Thank you, Dave. That was just an absolutely wonderful program. And I like your call to action for all of us to either refer someone or actually do it ourselves. Back to you, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori. Does anybody need me to put that link in there about the Pathways Mentor page? Did you all see that come through, I hope? That will bring you right to the District 7 Pathways Mentor Program page. You'll have access to the entire Learning Center, but that will bring you right there if you want to get started with the Pathways Mentor Program. And again, this will be included in the follow-up email. Any last thoughts or questions before we draw a line, about 30 seconds early, perhaps? Seeing none, that concludes the evening. I give you back the rest of your evening. Thank you so much. Big hand, one more time.
You're a rock star, Dave. You're a rock star.
Thank you, Jeff.